This was the craziest experience I've ever had, smoking a certain green plant. This video does not glorify the use of anything. Stay safe, everybody. Let's give me some backstory. Basically, I don't usually smoke that much, but I've smoked a few times at parties. And one time, I smoked a lot at a party. And the craziest thing that happened, me and a bunch of friends were jumping at the party to the music, and time started to slow down a lot. At one point, it felt like time just froze. That was only for a few seconds, but it just felt so slow. So I wanted to go sit down somewhere else, away from the party. I was freaking out, and I thought, oh my god, I had way too much. But then, fast forward, I realized you can actually overdose with this drug. So basically, that comes to now. I have that mindset now where I realize if something crazy happens, I'll be fine because I can't actually die. So there I was sitting on a bed at basically a stranger's house because they're just a friend of a friend. And then I was just sitting there after having partaken, just watching everybody. And then I noticed my vision started to zoom out and everybody seemed like they were all in a movie and I was just watching everybody. So then at that point I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I noticed my sense of touch multiplied by 1,000%. I couldn't explain what was going on with my sense of touch, but it felt horrible. It felt like you were feeling the sense of touch of 1,000 different versions of you, all in different dimensions and different universes. And you were feeling all of their sense of touch combined with yours at that very moment. And it felt very overstimulating. But anyways, at this point I was thinking, am I gonna be having another one of those bad trips just like last time? So then I was like, okay, well, this time, just gotta observe what happens. Just gotta let go of sense of control. So basically, that's what I was trying to do the whole night, because that night became so very chaotic. So at this point, I decided to get out of that bedroom and I went outside and I saw a guy sitting on a wooden deck and I sat next to him. And then he tried to talk to me and tried to make me feel better. And I was just watching him, trying to just do the old giving good eye contact to make sure he knows I'm paying attention. But in reality, I wasn't paying attention at all. I had no idea what he was saying because what I was seeing, bro, I couldn't even explain what I was seeing. It looked like this. It looked like a fucking film strip. It looked like I was watching a literal movie. And then the film strip started burning. And then it disappeared, and then we were back to reality. And I was basically like, okay, clearly I've had too much. So what happens when you have too much of a certain substance? You try to remove that substance from your body, right? So I thought, let me try and make myself throw up. Now, of course, that actually is not going to do anything because I didn't eat anything. It was inhaled through my lungs. But at the time, I thought of doing that. So I tried to make myself throw up, and then it felt like 1,000 different versions of me were trying to make myself throw up at the exact same time. It felt like I was feeling 1,000 fingers inside 1,000 mouths. So of course, that did not work. And then I decided, okay, fuck this. I'm just gonna go lay down on this fucking deck outside the fucking house. So then a bunch of the guys were talking about how they needed to bring me home. So they drove me back home. And then when I was walking back home with a friend of mine, I was trying not to fall down with each step I took. But anyways, I made it inside. And man, I was thinking, okay, that was probably the worst of it. Now I can finally relax. But I was wrong. That was barely the beginning. So at this point, all I remember was I was pouring water from my sink into my hands and then splashing it onto my face. I think I was trying to scrub my face off and also drink water at the same time. I don't remember why I was doing this. All I remember was that I was thirsty and I was probably going insane. Either way, each time I would pour water on my face and look at my hands, I would just remember that time I tried to make myself throw up. And at the same time, I'd be feeling 1,000 different versions of me pour water on my face and 1,000 different versions of me try and make myself throw up. After that, I tried to go to sleep. I laid down in bed and couldn't go to sleep. Then I'd go back and pour more water in my face. And I would just do that over and over again. Pour water on my face, try and go to sleep, rinse and repeat. And then after some point, I went into the kitchen and tried to pour that water onto my face. And I realized that each time I would try and pour water in my face, I felt less versions of me pour water on my face. And then I said, oh my god. This whole time, I was feeling the sensations of future me. Each time I would pour water in my face, I was feeling my future self pour water on my face. And then that's why each time I would do it, I would feel less and less versions of me until I only felt one version of me. So I was like, oh my god, this is insane. And then I was like bummed out, like, oh man, I'm stuck in a time loop. I hope this is not gonna take too long. I was just thinking, man, it just really feels like I'm in some sort of psychedelic trip, even though this was just cannabis. Then I was like, you know how Joe Rogan always says when you're on DMT, you see aliens? I wonder if I could see aliens. And then I thought about it. And then I looked at the side of the room, and then there was a crack that started to appear. It didn't even appear on the wall, it just appeared. It appeared out of thin air. There was just a fucking crack, and then it opened, and then I just saw another world. And I saw two creatures with no face and gray bodies walk out, or like try to step out of the crack. And then I was just thinking, oh my god, this is insane. I wasn't even stressed out or worried because I could tell that it wasn't real, but it also looked kind of real. Like it looked pretty vivid, but it kind of just reminded me of the hallucinations I already have, which is probably going to be another story for another day. The intense part comes now, where now that I'm laying down in bed, I just see this spiral and I don't really understand what I'm seeing. But then I realize what it is when I put my hand out. This was what I was seeing. I was seeing future versions of me. I was seeing their POV, and I was seeing my hand close in the future before my hand actually closed in real life. It was like I could see through the future. And then I was just thinking, why am I experiencing this with weed? I have no clue. All I know is that I was just waiting for it to end at that point because the experience was very cool, but I never really asked for any of it. But the interesting thing was, throughout this whole experience, it kind of just felt like I was just observing myself in a way because I was doing things automatically. I had thoughts in my brain that were sort of related to what was going on in the real world and related to what I was doing, but it never felt like I was actually the one moving my body. I still had those weird thought loops, but it was interesting how they were happening. Sometimes my arm would just move on its own. It's like when I would think of something relating to that, like maybe, I want to put my hand on my lap because it's more comfortable there. It would just do it. And then I would be thinking, I didn't really want to do that. And my arm would be going away. And I would be thinking, that was weird how when I thought about that, it just went there. Wait, there it is again. Yeah, so basically, I was going insane. At some point, I was finally able to go to sleep, and it was great. But then the next day, I still felt high. I was like, God damn, bro, this is insane. Until now, I still feel high. This just shows how crazy my experience was. I'm gonna tell everybody about this. And guess who I told first? My mom. And of course, she freaked out.